Good evening, folks. Welcome back to Celtic Fans TV. Here from Malone's Bar, it's a post-match pint. I've got Kenny and Callum with me to go over Celtic 1, Motherwell 1. Kenny, talking to Martin and Darren outside the stadium there. Really hard to come away for that with any semblance of positivity. I thought we got what we deserved in the game, really, even though we went ahead late on. With Turnbull's penalty, it had the feeling to me like there was still maybe something in it for Motherwell, just because the tone of the whole performance, really, and disappointing outing.
The most angry I've been leaving the ground all season, a multitude of reasons. In the first half, probably three big reasons. Thiago Wome, I thought it was a reasonable selection, but a really mild, weak output from him. He's a reasonable footballer, Thiago Wome, but he's not got the physical presence to cope with a game like that. It's becoming obvious now. Brendan Rodgers has developed people. Kieran Tierney came in, completely underdeveloped. He turned him into a bit of a superstar physically, but he was a special player. Thiago Wome has yet to show anything remotely like that. It looks like we're carrying a project there in a really key position. I think our players that were on international duty, Matt O'Reilly, Callum, McGregor, they just looked a bit fatigued. And in a game like that, Motherwell's approach, it was just to completely suffocate the middle of the park. Yeah. They built a wall there. You could have played all day there, you'd never get through the middle of the park. So what does that mean? You're heavily reliant on your wingers and getting the ball out wide. And the output was diabolical. Yang spent all day just coming inside. Really, no bravery. If you're suffocated in the middle of the park, the last thing you want to do is your wingers to be coming inside and passing the buck because it's comfortable and it's easy. You want them to be brave and take the ball and try and carve them open out and behind and get to the byline. And all afternoon he did none of that. So that led to one shot on target in the first half against a team that's probably the most out of form team in the whole league. Yeah. Second half, just a repetition, really. I mean, fair play to Rodgers in the sense that he tried to mix it up by going two up front, but it didn't work. It worked to the point where we had to sub our main striker. Palmer's penalty, a bit embarrassing. Nice composure from Turnbull. But then somehow we find ourselves on the cusp of 3 points. But with 2 minutes to go, the only time they go up the park, the one thing you want with a deep ball in is a bit of bravery. Just a bit of composure, particularly from your goalkeeper. You want your goalkeeper to command in. He owns that 6-yard box. It doesn't matter if he wipes out every player in the park to punch the ball. He should be probably catching that ball if he makes the right decision. What happens? He comes out weak, like some sort of starfish. They score a goal, whereby we've got one of our smallest players marking their tallest player. People use the term, it's like a pub league goal. For me, that was a joke. And we deserve nothing out of it. And I think it's a little bit worrying because where do we go? In the next game, can we mix it up? Have we got a strong bench where we can say, right, let's throw the shirt at 5 of those players, bring 5 in and see what happens? No, you can't. Because the bench is so weak. You've got players in there that are just a byproduct of a disastrous summer transfer window. And when we last spoke here, we were 7 points clear. And I said to you, we'll probably have a stranglehold to kill this league by Christmas. We've played ourselves into a title race. Because you need to view the lead now as 3 points, and 3 points is not barely a lead. It's a bit worrying, really. I'm a bit worried by the direction. You need to try and fix it in January. January's notoriously a difficult window to do that in. We've got a really bulging bank balance, but a bulging bank balance doesn't score goals, and we needed goals today. And I just feel a bit flat. I think the direction now is under question.
I agree, Callum. We've never been reactionary on this channel, but I feel like after a third of the season's gone, we've had performances at the start that weren't great and the team was finding its feet, but we were getting good results, and we had a really good one away from home despite the tough fixtures, one at Ibrox. We've covered all of those. But I feel there's been an undercurrent through most of the season that we've not really been playing that well. Even a couple of the home victories we had early on didn't really feel like we'd clicked. We've had a couple of games where you think, right now, it's beginning to look like a proper Celtic team. Maybe we can try and motor. We won 4-1 at Tynecastle, we beat Aberdeen 6-0. But it seems like it keeps getting pierced every couple of weeks, and we come back to a performance like today where the play's far too slow. There's not really enough quality there. It doesn't look like the style is getting the best out of the players. One of the glaring things to me is that we're going to talk about Kyogo's role probably at some point in this video. We never get to the byline anymore. Never. Kenny's talking about the ball going wide because it's so condensed in the middle of the pitch. It gets wide to Palma. He's constantly going to come inside. And I actually thought for the first 10-15 minutes he looked quite bright. And then he just died off. I know he's done a lot of travelling. Yang on the other side, as Kenny says, coming inside or passing back inside. We never get to the byline. There's very few dangerous cutbacks. And that was a hallmark of the Postecoglou team. And I know the style is different. We're playing in a different way at a different speed. And Kyogo has never really been involved in the games, even going back to the Postecoglou tenure. But now we create almost no chances for him. And you go through that first half today, and we've done nothing of note. Nothing. I think Matt O'Reilly, we have one half decent move. O'Reilly sort of half volleys it on the right foot, produces a good save for Kelly. After that, nothing. And actually, Motherwell got up the park 3 times. A great bit of defending for Carter Vickers stops a certain goal scoring chance. Hart has to make a half decent save for the edge of the box, and then there's that bit of confusion where Hart's come out for a long ball and missed it, and then he's went to try and correct it and he's almost made another mistake. And despite the fact that we'd absolutely dominated the ball in that first half, Motherwell almost had the slightly better openings, and I think that is worrying. I think that we've seen enough of this season so far now, and I know we're still top of the league, as Kenny says. You round that up to a 3-point margin at the top of the league, but we can't use that as the barometer of the performance level. You see the performance level every week. Celtic can't, and I've mentioned this about the strategy a lot recently. The barometer for Celtic is not to compare ourselves to Rangers and where they're at. And so if you compare ourselves to Rangers so far, we've got a good lead, which is dwindling because of the performances, by the way, but we've got a good lead. We need to start saying where should we be, not just in Europe, because I think the domestic performances are worrying.
Right, so today was a tough day, but you talk about it's been up and down and there's been moments. It's almost like if you were a boxer, we've been punched a few times in the nose this season, and it started at the very first game away to Kilmarnock in the Cup. We took a really sore one early on in the season, and we kind of thought, right, get back on it, continue. I think that international break was, am I right in saying, the third international break that we've had this season already? Yeah. Plus we've had European games that have been tough as well. So there has been a lot of stop-start constantly, and we've never been really allowed, once we do start kind of getting into that feeling where we're starting to score a lot of goals or we're having a bit of momentum. The worst thing for us was to go into an international break after we beat Aberdeen 6-0, because I don't think that would have been the result that we got today if it had been played, if there wasn't an international weekend. So look, it's tough. The board have done this to Rodgers, because in my eyes Rodgers came back because when he first left he wasn't backed, i.e. the John McGinn saga, how he went to Villa for like £2.5 million, and the board didn't want to give him that money, so he decided to leave. Now at the AGM, he's obviously saying that in January he wants to buy players, but key players that are now in ready, not projects. It's a clear message that he's talking to the fans and telling us that he's not really happy with what he got. Aye, mate, of course it is, and it's Groundhog Day with the same board again. And look, the financial results are phenomenal and brilliant, but the financial result doesn't really affect me as much, and doesn't affect any of us. It goes into their pockets. We put a lot of money into the club, and we just want a couple of wee diamonds that are here and now that can help somebody like a Callum McGregor. It always feels like Callum McGregor's having to nurture somebody that's really young and having to show him the ropes of how to play in this league, and it's continuous season upon season. And eventually you are going to get caught. Now, the issue that I've got with Rodgers, and he's a great manager and great tactician, but he got it wrong today for me. He constantly keeps changing the one midfielder. So once Hatate's injured, because our main, obviously, is McGregor, O'Reilly and Hatate are three options that we always pick if everybody's fit. But this fantasy of like 5 aside, of having Bernardo 1 week, Awata the next, then he's putting in Home some weeks, then he's taking him out, then it's Turnbull. Turnbull scored 4 goals, I think, in his last 4 appearances. He's got one against Ross County, one against Aberdeen, one today. But yet he cannot start at all. Now, I don't know if that's down to the contract situation and that he doesn't want to sign a new deal, because it runs up this summer. So is Rodgers thinking, well, I'm not going to play if you're not going to commit, I need to then play one of the project players that are going to be here for the longer term? I don't know, but there is a lot of issues that Rodgers done to himself. I mean, this continues to happen, and people might split an opinion on this, but Greg Taylor, I feel in a lot of games, is targeted. Liam Kelly get the ball every time, and O'Donnell went and sat on him and won the ball most times. And I think Taylor struggled, and going to the goal that Motherwell will get, and we'll talk about it, Taylor's marking Obika. Obika's a huge boy. He must be 6'2", 6'3". He's a big boy. He's a big unit. Taylor's very thin. He's thin as that Corona bottle. He's tiny, and he's marking him. And then Joe Hart's coming out doing star jumps, and it's just like, it's a comical way of conceding a goal, and it's kind of what we deserve, because this whole stuff about the penalty situation, it has to stop. For me, somebody has to grab the ball and be confident. Nobody is confident in that team to take a penalty. We are petrified at getting a penalty, yet we've had the most in the league. We've had 8 penalties, and I don't even know how many we've scored. Maybe 2, 3, if that. We missed so many, so there's a lot of problems, and what that tells you, that situation, is that it tells you there's not enough leaders in the team. Somebody to step up and go, I'll take the ball, I want to score, I want my numbers to be high. I'll get it, so I'm player of the year when it comes to me. I'll take it. There's not enough people stepping up. So, look, there's a lot of issues throughout the team. I mean, you can go through so many turning to Mikey Johnston and Tillio to be the answer to get us out against Motherwell, who, again, Kenny says, are in dreadful form before the international break. So it's probably the best team we wanted at Celtic Park because they're in dire form. And we're bringing on Tillio and Johnson, and it's not their fault because they don't get enough game time, because they're not good enough. That's the reality, they're not good enough. But because we've got Abad out injured and Daiza Maeda's out injured, then these players then become our next in line to step up. And it's not, and throughout the whole team, what's happened to Kwon, what's happened to Iwata, Kobayashi, Narotsky, Lagerbielka, right there, that's over £12 million, right there on 5 players, and not one of them can make the squad today. By the way, not one of them can make it. There's something wrong. What's happened in the summer, if they took the eye off and is Postecoglou not had that same effect, maybe the board thought they can keep doing what he was doing. I don't know. But they've definitely not backed Rodgers in the way that we all thought he was going to get backed when we first heard the rumours that he was coming back, and we all believed that he was going to get a bit of money to buy maybe a wee diamond, a wee 8 million, 9 million, 10 million pound player, just to have a wee bit of quality, especially in Europe. But in Scotland, it looks like we're obviously trembling at times, because some of the performances, as you say, have not been great. And I don't know if that's down to, as I said earlier, is about international break, stop, starts. We've had a lot of players in and out. As I said, Abad is a massive player for us. His goal contribution every season he's been here is phenomenal. It's always high for a young player. But you take that out of the team, then you've got like James Forrest, for example, somebody that again's not really making an impact in the squad, but he's probably on a good wage, I would imagine, because his last contract was when he was in a really bit of form, and we gave him like a 5-year deal. So he's probably on a pretty wage, but they're not contributing. James McCarthy not contributing. Like, there's so many players.
Rodgers already said the squad's far too big. That's one of the problems.
The squad's so bloated, and they can come out and tell me all these financial figures. Brilliant, that's great. But for the long haul, in this team to progress every year, it almost feels, and you've covered it before, is that Celtic get to a stage where they're almost an 8 out of 10, and all Celtic fans want to be a 10 out of 10. And as soon as we get to an 8, the player gets sold, i.e. Jota, he goes, Kieran Tierney, he goes, Wanyama, he goes, Van Dijk, he goes. They all go, and I ain't got an issue with that. But then
you need to replace them.
Then it takes like 4 or 5 years to then go and get another real diamond like that, because we don't then go with that money that we get for Jota, 25 million. It's not reinvested in the way that it should be. Palmer, yes, okay, he's probably the only shining light out of all the summer signings that's actually done well, and I can't obviously grind on him today, but he has done well. But there's so many, like Yang. That's what you're going to get when you pay for somebody for less than £1 million. He's inexperienced. He's at a massive club. He'll have a really good game one weekend, and then he'll fall off the earth on another. Yeah. That's what you get with inexperienced players, and that's what you see today.
Yeah, Kenny, I don't think there's any doubt we came into the season underprepared. I think Jota, more than a couple of people have made reference from the club, Brendan Rodgers being one of them, that it was a bit of a surprise to lose Jota. I don't think anybody was expecting that. There's no doubt we're underprepared in terms of the transfer business. We're talking about Palmer being a shining light. He was late in the door. I can already see the comments from some people who have been at the game today that will watch the highlights later on. It'll be similar to the St Johnstone game that we drew 0-0, where you probably watch the highlights of that game and say, we missed chances, and on another day, Yang's header, O'Reilly's header, Scales. I know we end up winning the second penalty from the Scales header, but on another day you take the chances and you win it, and you just rack up another 3 points, and and forget about the below par performance. But like I say, I just think we've seen one too many of them now. We've had 3 draws and a very similar theme to all of the games.
I mean, it's deeper than just missed chances. You buy when you're strong. Good organised in any walk of life, not just football. You strengthen yourself when you're strong, because it's the only way to avoid complacency. We've been complacent. Postecoglou signed in a few weeks 17 players without that much. That sort of per head spend was probably quite low. Celtic can't sign 17 players at £5 million. None of us would expect them to. But they had a remarkable output of successful signings at that point in time. And after that, in retrospect, I naively thought that's because the scouting network had improved. And they, as an organisation, had improved their overall recruitment. It seems that it probably wasn't. It seems that it was just Postecoglou's contacts, his brain, and his ability to find people that would fit into a system and work that system. I think when he's gone, they've assumed that they can just carry on and sign people at 2 or 3 million. Doesn't matter if you get £70 million in the bank. We'll keep that. We'll sign another 5 players at £2 or £3 million and we'll make another 70. Life's not that simple. And it's not worked out that way at all. They've been complacent. They have misjudged how much money they need to invest in the club to promote it. And Brendan Rodgers is sitting there. I'm sure he's toeing the party line at an AGM saying, well, we've got 32 players. We need to trim the squad. We need to improve the quality. We can all see that. Inside, he'll be angry at the position that he's in at the moment, I would imagine. When he first came to Celtic and he was successful, he signed his own men. He signed Scott Sinclair. He signed Kolo Toure. They gave him money and he built a squad around his philosophy and his own ideas. Celtic have completely misjudged how to support Brendan Rodgers in that transfer window. Fair enough if Rodgers comes in with 2 or 3 days to go and he's handed what he's got. But he was here with a reasonable amount of time to try and shape the squad. And I think that's why we're toying. We shouldn't be bringing on Mikey Johnson. We should not be bringing on someone from Australia who it's their very first appearance, almost in December, to try and claw back a crucial 2 points in the league. And we're sleepwalking into a title race against, and it shouldn't be a title race. If you win a treble, you bring in an elite manager, you've got more resources by a distance than anyone else in the league. All you should be doing is stamping your authority everywhere. And we're not. We're incrementally declining into a problem. And it's hard to correct in January. Even if we recognise that now and say, OK, we've made a mistake, let's correct this. Tough to do that in January. He's going to ship players out. A lot of the duds that Callum mentioned will go, but it doesn't help the starting 11 today. So the direction, unfortunately, we're now going to have to correct a historical problem. Look, should we be panicking? Should we be sitting here thinking, well, we're going to lose the league? We're going to, no, we shouldn't. We need to keep a sense of perspective. We've still got enough quality players, should they be fit, that we cruise this league, and we've still got a manager that's better than anything in the league can even remotely offer. But we need to get our house in order pretty quickly, because the direction's a bit... football's a cruel game. Things can change quickly, and we need to get our house in order.
Aye, absolutely, Callum. One of the glaring things today, again, is the quality for set pieces. We missed another penalty. You touched on it already. I thought Palmer's slow run up. A slow run up always gives you the fear. He put it away against Aberdeen right in the side net, but today I just think he's approaching the ball far too slowly. It's too easy for the goalkeeper to read where you're going when you're approaching the ball at that pace. So that's another missed penalty chalked up. The output for corners is so dreadfully poor, and it has been season after season under multiple managers. I don't understand why, even in a domestic sense, where we are the strongest team with the most resources and the best players, our output for corners is so consistently poor. We're not really very dangerous for free kicks. I know Palmer's dead ball ability looks good, but we've yet to really see him take many free kicks. The set piece output for dead balls is so poor, season after season. It's so hard to get your head around why that's the case.
I mean, we're the strongest team financially. We're by far the weakest team physicality-wise. We're so poor. And that's got to be down to corners and set pieces. If you look at the Motherwell game at Fir Park that we were at, maybe 1-2-1, it almost had that same feeling, because obviously we get the late penalty with Turnbull today, and then Motherwell score, and you think, right, 10 minutes added, can we then get another, can we replicate, does lightning strike twice? But that goal that Motherwell got, that was from a set piece of, I think it was either from a corner or a long throw in, and it falls at the box, and we just can't defend it. I was saying this to Kenny earlier on, we don't have anybody that's an enforcer, that the first thing that they think of is not going forward. It's, I'm going to defend, I'm going to do my job, and I'm going to make sure that this back four are safe. I'll clean up. McGregor, you stay up a little bit. There's so much pressure on McGregor to go far up the pitch and to create, but also be our holding midfielder and get us out of trouble all the time. We don't have anybody at the club. Awata was brought in to do that. Where is he? Quan was brought in to do it. Where is he? Like, McCarthy stealing a wage. Like it's almost like it's a Friends Act that how many folk are signing, that they must know somebody higher up and they're just getting a contract because Celtic want to give them out willy-nilly. Like, there's just so many issues. Like, again, but I think Rodgers got it wrong today, because at half time I was saying to my dad that we should actually take home off. I thought he was really, really poor in the first half, and I was surprised because I don't know if he went away with the under-21s from Norway, did he? Yeah. So he's had game time, I imagine, so he's not even like rusty.
In one of the games he did, yeah.
So he's got a wee bit of game
minutes.
time, so he should be able to kind of just go back in, and there's nobody grabbing that spot apart from Turnbull right now, and whether fans like that or not, Turnbull's the one that's scoring the goals, and today you needed somebody to almost have that effort from 25 yards. Celtic were trying to walk the ball in continuously, and Motherwell were happy just to sit and a block of almost 10 and just say, well, see, as soon as we get the ball, we're just going to launch it forward and then come back at us and keep trying, because we are physically better than you. We're going to battle these. Like, you're not going to put the ball in and score a header. It's not happening. So at half time, home should have been 0 and 0 on, and that's what did happen. But he got it wrong. He put Kyogo into the number 10 role. And it just absolutely took him out of the game completely. In the first half, he was already out of the game, but the second half, it completely killed him, because in that area, there was almost like 6 players, as in the striker and midfielders and wingers, were all crammed in that 10-yard circumference of each other, and there was nowhere to play. But you want Kyogo, technically probably one of our best players, to almost dribble his way through it and get a goal. It's not going to happen. You had to play 2 up front, maybe go 3 at the back, with Scales playing covering the left back side and the left centre side, because he is naturally a left back. I genuinely think he did get it wrong today. And then when we go 1-0 up and we get that stroke of luck that we get the second penalty, by the way, the first penalty, because I might as well say it, because if we lose then it looks even worse, but I'm sure Kelly pulls O down as he's about to score into an empty net. Would that not be a red card as well in the game? Because I remember Joe Hart getting sent off against Livingston when he was miles out his box, but apparently the guy was going to go around him and score, but O's even closer.
The only thing there is the triple jeopardy thing, which I think could have come into play. If you get a red card, a penalty and a man sent off.
But I think if you do it deliberately, if you deliberately haul someone down there about to score, the double jeopardy is overridden.
You should be punished.
I just think maybe
it's overridden. I don't know if it was deliberate. It must have been deliberate.
It was deliberate, but I think
so it should have been sent off.
I think there was maybe enough of a grey area. There's enough of a grey area.
If you're ripped down before you're about to tap into an empty net, the grey area is pretty small for me.
Unless,
I mean, no for Stephen McLean, no.
Unless it was like a tangle of legs, then you go, right, it's just unfortunate. He's trying to get the ball and he tangles his legs. But the fact he pulls him down, so it's a red card. But Celtic still get lucky. They get the next penalty, they score the penalty, and straight away my head turns to, and again, we don't have anybody at the club that thinks like this, is going, bang. We'll get Taylor off, we'll put Scales left back, keep the physicality and the height for long balls that they keep pinging across into his channel, into Taylor's, take Taylor off, get Phillips on. What's the one thing that we heard about Phillips coming to us? He's great at heading, he loves to head at a ball. Ironically, Celtic lose a goal to a header because we put Taylor on Obika, who again is a massive unit of a player. Taylor's probably our smallest player apart from Tillio that we've never seen before. And it's comical defending. At that point, you go 1-0 up, you hold on. It was almost like a naivety of Rodgers to think, well, we're Celtic and you're Motherwell, we'll just go and get another, and Celtic get punished.
I haven't seen the corner back, but that smacks to me disorganisation if Taylor's
Callum's right, he should have brought in Rodgers. That's where Rodgers is good, ironically. He can assess situations quickly. They brought Giants on. I mean, my heart sank when they brought them. You knew it was going to happen. Long shies, corner. You knew it was a cheap accident waiting to happen. I'm a bit surprised they never brought Phillips on at that point, because he did it in the European game. He brought Phillips on and it showed things up and it was quite clever. That was a mistake from Rodgers. He left us a bit weak when they brought those big players on.
The worst part about Motherwell's goal, Paul, because he says you've not seen it back, sitting right behind it, the first issue you've got is the long ball from the right back of Motherwell, O'Donnell. I'm sure it goes all the way to the left winger, and Ralston doesn't win the header. And I didn't think Ralston played well at all today. And I understand because Johnson was coming back for Canada yesterday and it's heavy on the legs, and we've got also Lazio on Tuesday and not the Wednesday. It gives us an extra day. We've got one less day to recover, so I understand why Ralston played, but it was poor trying to win that header, and I thought he was poor for most of the game. Second issue is it falls to Scales and he doesn't clear it quick enough. He then gets it tangled and it becomes running about his chest height. Then Taylor goes in and he just goes in like a rash dog trying to get like a biscuit, and he just boots the ball and it goes all the way behind, and it's like, Taylor, just kick it out for a throw-in. Do not give them a corner, because as Kenny says, they've got units, they've got bouncers in their team. They've not got footballers, they've got bouncers, and they put them all up, and you just knew it was. You felt it with how cold it was the day, the atmosphere. There was no atmosphere. This whole thing with the Green Brigade situation, whatever side you fall on, I do not care. It has to be sorted one way or the other. It's been going on way too long. It's detrimental to the stadium, to the fans, to the atmosphere. We've got a lot of games at home coming up, and we don't need this riding on. It's just another negativity. And as my dad always says, if Celtic are on the pages of the newspapers, on the back of them, it's always really not for a good thing. It's always for a bad thing if you make the back of the pages. And Celtic right now will be in the back of the pages, and they have been. And the whole Green Brigade situation doesn't help us either. So there's a lot of problems at the club, and it stems from the board. They need to sort it out, because I can't. It's up to them, and right now it doesn't feel like they are doing much.
Kenny, just briefly to finish us off, absolutely buzzing for the day trip to Rome Tuesday. Although Lazio did get beat by Salernitana today, so you never know. We won the last time we went there. You mentioned going into the next domestic game with the same players. I said in the full-time reaction, it's like lambs to the slaughter with this squad in the Champions League. You just got to hope.
The problem is, Paul, one of the biggest problems is we can't structure ourselves in these games to protect ourselves, because we've got one defensive midfielder in the entire club.
And he's not a physical specimen.
It's just ridiculous. I mean, it's absurd. You've got 32 players in the squad. We're trying to cut it down. Yeah, we've only got one man, Callum McGregor, who's a technician, that can actually protect this sort of handle between the middle of the park and the defence. So we're going to go out there. He'll be there. You're going to play Matt O'Reilly, of course. You probably Turnbull, and we'll get run over in the middle of the park. I mean, you know that before you get into the game. You can't run Champions League campaigns with one defensive midfielder. So look, it's a wing and a prayer. It's flawed for me to sit here and say, yeah, I think we're going to do something that lacks credibility. Let's just hope we can't. What we can't do is come out with a morale-destroying, prideless effort.
Capitulate.
We've got to go in and somehow be combative and try and be pragmatic. And if we get a point, we get a point. If we hit the jackpot, maybe Motherwell did today. But we've somehow got to try and compose ourselves in a way that we don't come off with a scudding. But tough to see that when you see it today, when you see what happened today. And it's just tough to see it when you see the way the squad is structured. I don't see enough agility and flexibility for Brendan Rodgers to say, well, we'll play this structure away from Lazio, we'll play a different one at home to Motherwell. We can't. Yeah. We're stuck with the same 11.
I don't want to kill your trip, Paul, really quickly, right? But Rome, for me, is going to be a game where I can already see it. Celtic are probably going to lose the game, but they're going to play brilliantly, and it's going to be a naive mistake for either Joe Hart or for Taylor or for Johnson. Somebody's going to make a mistake, and it's going to allow them to then get a goal, and then we're going to come out in the next 20 minutes and do well, and then we're going to probably get a red card, and then it's going to be the old same story of Celtic aren't good enough in Europe, and then it's a sore run again.
Let's hope not. Let's hope not. That's it for the post-match pint. A difficult afternoon. Like this video, comment with your own thoughts on today's game below, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you on Monday for the build-up to that game in Rome. Thank you.